Let's get this out the way before we even get started. I'm not the biggest fan of Bill Burr, okay? I always thought that he was safe, edgy, and especially going back to the days of Opie and Anthony. If you were a listener during that time, you know exactly where I'm going when it comes to this. For a guy who did hundreds of hours of good radio with Anthony Cumia, the moment that he got a wife, got a little bit of a bug in her bonnet about some of Anthony's takes, she decided to keep Bill's balls right in her purse and has been controlling all of his movements for a very long time, making him look really, really bad. A couple of years ago, they were at a UFC event where Donald Trump also happened to be at. Bill Burr's wife flipped off the president on screen. It's like, how could you even possibly take somebody out like that with the status that you have, and for them to comport themselves in just such a disrespectful way? Like, he's always been soft. Okay, like my personal rankings of guys that came out the O&A system, I have Bill Burr right close to the bottom. Hot take, I think Bob Kelly's funnier than Bill Burr, specifically on radio. I can't speak to their stand-up, okay? I'm more of a fan of people when they're funny conversationally as opposed to joke telling, but the fact that you got this guy being held up as being so anti-PC, you know, just a truly against the grain comic, especially in today's day and age over the past few years, it's absolutely laughable. You would piss your pants with blood if you heard anything that Nick DiPaolo was talking about. Or rest in peace, Patrice Oneal. If Patrice was here, Bill Burr might actually have a spine in today's day and age. But I digress, okay? Especially with my online presence, I've been a detractor all the way back. I had to go and check October of 2020, so this isn't, piling on Bill just because he's had a bad take recently. No. Prior to me being online, I seem to recall him dumping all over Star Wars, even back in the O&A days. Okay, there are several video clips and audio clips that have gone and done the rounds, especially around 2019 time, when all of a sudden Bill was cracking into Hollywood and he managed to land himself a role on The Mandalorian. I wonder if he's also going to be a part of that new upcoming movie, because oh boy, it looks like it's going to be Key Jangle Fest, but more on that disaster tomorrow. But it already showed that Bill will sell out for the highest buyer. I mean, take a look at where he's making all of these edgy comments, okay? These safe, edgy, these leftist acceptable comments. That's exactly what this is, okay? Because what's he doing, okay? Siding with this murderer, okay? And yeah, he's a comedian. He's trying to make jokes. But you're also on Jimmy Kimmel, okay? Where you go and you make all of these leftist-approved statements. So yes, while I normally stand up for comedians and they're just making jokes, and that's obviously what he's doing right here, there's a tinge of truth to this stuff. Let's make this doubly clear. Just because I don't like him doesn't mean I don't want to see him out of work, because he's a pretty decent actor. Even in the Mandalorian episodes that he's in, he was kind of the highlight of that absolute dog shit show. He's quite talented at what he does. He's not my cup of tea. And people who say that, I like him because he's edgy also think that they like spicy food because they put a little cayenne pepper inside their mayo. Bill Burr unloads on insurance companies, praises Luigi Mangione in LAFD rant, free Luigi. I mean, I don't think I ended up doing like a dedicated video on that situation, mostly because I didn't really have much to add on that. It's like, yeah, he murdered somebody who was in charge of a healthcare insurance company. It's like healthcare insurance and the entire healthcare system, whether or not you have universal healthcare or not. It's all corrupt. The United States system is ass. The Canadian system, I can go ahead and tell you firsthand, is complete and total cancer. Well, you better hope that you don't have it in Canada, especially because when it comes to treatment, they offer you a quick and peaceful solution if you're so inclined. That is, if you can get yourself off of like a 6 to 8 month wait list. The last time I had to go to the emergency room, I don't think it was the last, but at least the last notable time that I had to go to an emergency room, it's when I required several stitches in my hand. Okay, you can't see it, but I can right here. I'm just looking at it and trying to count how many I had. 4 stitches? 4 stitches put into my hand. I put a chisel into the palm of my hand. A long story, but anyways, I had to be in the emergency room, okay, holding gauze on my hand for, get this, 6 hours. 6 hours before I could see a doctor, before they could put stitches into my hand, before they could assess the damage. It's a trash system, and yeah, I can sympathize with people not liking it, but then again, I can't sympathize with the people who want to have the United States move towards a Canadian or a UK style healthcare system, because it's terrible the whole way around. That's a completely different subject, and one I'm Not likely to get into at a later date, just saying, I have my opinions on this stuff. But Bill Burr is fired up. Oh, yeah, and definitely, as the comedian and actor 56 blasted insurance companies and praised accused United Healthcare CEO shooter Luigi Mangione while speaking about the LA fires during his Tuesday appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live. It's interesting, right? The only time that Jimmy Kimmel ever goes quote-unquote viral or is notable in the news is when he starts crying, talking about Donald Trump, or when he has a guest on that's talking absolute crap. It's very interesting, right? Because late night TV, it actually used to be something. But then again, kind of got to go back a long time ago when you had the likes of Leno and Letterman and Ferguson at that point in time. And then especially before that, when late night actually, was something, when you had Johnny Carson and, oh my God, Dick Cavett. Before that, Jack Parr, late night actually used to be something. It used to be a way for comedians to get in front of a big enough audience for them to have their material known. And it was also like the one-stop shop for, actors to come out, for them to at least show the public a little bit of their personality. But thanks to the advent of social media and the overly politicized hosts, nobody really cares about this stuff. You take a look at the ratings and they're actually the only thing worse than IGN polls on their own specific social media channels. But in summation, I think Bill's doing Jimmy a favor going on his stupid show. Bill said that, like many people in Los Angeles, he had to evacuate after flames threatened his home. Oh, did he lose a home? Okay, because that's going to play into the second half of this stuff. I got lucky, he said, the winds moved. Right. So talking about Mangione, they're talking about looting. But CNN and Fox News, they're gonna bring up the insurance companies and just gonna keep everybody's premiums and still give themselves a bonus. He said, from clapter and applause from the audience. So is he telling a joke if he's receiving applause and no laughs? Interesting. Yeah, free Luigi! Exclaimed over the clapping. Luigi Mangione is accused of shooting and killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione has pleaded not guilty. Yeah, I mean, there's footage of him drawing the gun and pulling it on the guy as he's walking away because this cuck got a back injury back in the cut, and because he's a natural and never developed any types of skills, he ends up blaming the rest of the world for all of his shortcomings, because at the end of the day, this is also a rich fucking kid as well. Like, that whole situation. When we eventually get to a conclusion of the trial, maybe I'll come back on that one, mostly because, long story short on that situation, just another story of an entitled kid lashing out irrationally, and because he can cut a nice mugshot, then you got a bunch of simps that are out there. And he also have a bunch of commies and tankies out there going, you're down with insurance or government oversight on things. Anyways, drawing laughter from Kimmel and the crowd. Burr's, Dr. talking about Mangione. I love how they acted surprised. How could this happen? Imitating media pundits. The killer wrote on the bullets why it happened. According to law enforcement, the bullets fired at Thompson were inscribed with the words deny, defend, depose. Oh my God, see, what a hero. The hero that we need, but the hero that we deserve. Why insurance companies don't pay claims. And what you can do about it. Whatever, man. A jovial Kimmel responded, we're still on Luigi. Yeah, I never left Luigi. Yeah, the old dad star had been vocal about Mangione before. Was that before or after he appeared at, which award show is this? Because it's funny, right? When you used to have comedians host the likes of the Oscars, okay? As generically milquetoast as Steve Martin was, putting the stupid arrow through his head and a bunch of wild and crazy guys, he would at least be memorable for his monologues. Even stupid Billy Crystal when he's not doing the goofy blues singer bullshit. He would be notable. I think all of that stuff really crescendoed, and why this is still referenced over a decade later. Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes, and he was holding up a mirror to all of those Hollywood scumbags that are out there. That's the last time that you're ever going to see anything like that, okay? You might get light shots, and you've got a couple of jabs every now and again. You'll bring up somebody who's safe edgy like Bill Burr. They're never going to say anything that's going to resonate, nothing that's going to stick long term, because at the end of the day, they all want to be in the club. Bill Burr strikes me. He really does, okay? He's definitely cut from the same cloth as, like, Howard Stern and Kevin Smith. Somebody who, when they were on the outside looking in, they would go ahead and take their jabs, but now they've been embraced by the industry. Now all of a sudden, they're just going to go ahead and pull up that ladder, slam that door shut, and then just go onto the balcony and go, boo, boo all the peasants, boo. You don't know what you're talking about, dude. Everybody ended up doing a good job, you fucking idiots. Bill Burr eviscerates the idiots on the internet trolls. Yeah, who says the LA wildfires were mismanaged. Yeah, this is where it's like, how at this point in time you can't defend this bald-headed ginger asshole. Bill Burr has had enough with mounting online criticism of how the city officials and the Los Angeles Fire Department responded irresponsibly to ongoing wildfires in the Pacific Palisades, Altadena, and elsewhere. Yeah, you know, the ones that continue to sporadically spark up, the ones that haven't been contained at all whatsoever, the ones that have resulted in how many millions, approaching billions of dollars of damage, the ones that couldn't be adequately addressed at the beginning because the reservoirs were emptied, because proper forest management hasn't taken place. And that's just not me talking, okay? Knowing the policies and knowing what Gavin Newsom has and hasn't done over the past half decade that he's been in charge. This is also from the people down there, okay? Risking everything. People who have lost everything talking about this stuff, mentioning this stuff. No, it's just online idiots, right, Bill? Sitting with Jimmy Kimmel on Tuesday night, the comedian responded to those who argued helicopters should have been utilized earlier in the fight against the flames. He argued that everybody did a great job on the ground, and he mocked people who said the natural disaster was mismanaged. Well, no, because we hear from the likes of Karen Bass, who at the onset of this was out in Ghana, and even at home, Gavin Newsom, who is dodging questions by his constituents by faking phone calls with Joe Biden and giving weird, twitchy interviews on TV every chance that he gets. Whenever they speak at a podium, they're always congratulating themselves and their other fellow administrators for doing such a miraculous job during this time. So yeah, how could anybody possibly think that this is being mismanaged? Didn't you see that clip? The assistant fire chief in Los Angeles talking about if your husband needs to have her drag him out of a fire, he got himself into the wrong place. That is a totally reasonable response, right? Fuck off. Like most people, I had to evacuate. I got lucky. The winds moved, but the fire was coming and all that stuff. So I feel lucky, and I think everybody did a great job. Unlike the internet, you know, Bill Burr began at the top of his Kimmel live appearance. Oh my God, all these fire experts. You don't just fly a helicopter into the ocean. Because it's like 100-knot winds, and want to do that? Hey, want to do it at night? You fucking lunatic. This was definitely mismanaged. Managed like some idiot on the internet knows how to manage the worst fire in LA. The worst fire in LA, and then also, what about the subsequent ones that have been happening before? What about they've had practice runs beforehand, knowing how to deal with this before? Like when Gavin Newsom had a bill hit his desk that he signed into law a few years back talking about better water conservation and better water management. So in the case of this situation ever happening, they would have adequate water and that firefighters wouldn't run into dry hydrants. Yeah, interesting. But yeah, it's just idiots on the internet. How to manage the worst fire in LA, sitting there in his underwear. He continued, putting on an exaggerated voice to emphasize how stupid he thought these armchair critics were. You know what? Looking at the footage on the internet, I have determined that this here was mismanaged. Yeah, the fact that multiple of those enormous blazes, at best, had 10% containment. How there were more press conferences and plans taking place. Comedian who said family. Right, now he's just a comedian, right? He's not somebody making statements. Continued with his rhetoric. It's very funny how, the likes of the Rap, the Hollywood Reporter, Variety, any of these other rags will come out and frame Bill Burr's statements because it's complimentary of the government and it's going against the audience. It's funny how they'll go ahead and frame this as saying, oh, the comedian just said, or he joked, or, context is important when he's saying these things. It's funny how they'll go ahead and afford him that luxury, but if it's anybody saying, yeah, Karen Bass is a fucking dope, Gavin Newsom cares more about his hair looking appropriate than taking responsibility for his mess ups. That would be vile rhetoric. But Bill Burr, he's just a comedian. He's just an actor. He's just telling jokes. It's just his opinion, guys. He said it in an exaggerated tone. It was a perfect awful thing that could have happened, and it did. He concluded the winds and other natural elements that set the fires out of control. Yeah, it's just an act of God. It's just climate change. It's not a sheer abdication of responsibility. It's not incredibly poor planning by every single one of those long-term, lifelong, tax-paying, hit-sucking Democrats. No, has nothing to do with that. And of course, why won't Bill Burr hold any of those people accountable, any of those elected officials accountable? Remember his wife, Nia Hill, black woman. Exactly. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.